Welcome back to part 2 of our Proboscis Monkey habitat. If you missed out on the first habitat, please check out the video first. I released that one yesterday, and today we are going to finish it up, including the interior, with a lot of changes thanks to all of your comments. But before we go really deep into what we have done and what we are going to do today, and also what we are going to do in today's live stream, I've got something very special for you, because we do have a new sponsor for the channel, and actually the first actual sponsor for the channel, so hit that up now. Special thanks to our sponsor of today's video and the sponsor of the channel. Instant Gaming is a wonderful platform on which you can get your favorite games to a great value. You've got 24/7 support, you've got over 10,000 games at your hand, and you can find them very simple via a search bar, just like our Planet games over here. Or if you fancy, have a look at Cities, for example. Everything is here, including all the DLCs you wish to have. So special thanks again to Instant Gaming. Link is in the description if you want to grab a game. Please click there and have fun. Alright, you know that in the past we didn't really have too many sponsorships on the channel, because I'm relatively picky when it comes to sponsorships and advertising in general. I mean, you are already having the advertisement on YouTube, so I think it has to be a good pairing. And Instant Gaming obviously makes a lot of sense for all of us, right? Because we want to have games, we want to have discounts, we want to have giveaways, we want to make stuff that you guys actually can use, and I think this is why Instant Gaming obviously is a good fit, and I really do hope you guys yeah, just like it as much as I do. I'm very happy to welcome Instant Gaming as a active sponsor to the channel. So you will always find all the linkies and stuff in the description. You will find that on the channel page. And if you join the Discord, and if I remember correctly, there is a working link today in the description, you will also be able to take part in some giveaways. I will actually do one giveaway during the next week, as soon as I've figured out exactly how to do that. But yeah, that's that. Now, without further talkies about other stuff, let's talk about this build. Now, in the last episode, I have already talked quite a bit about the background, and first of all, I have to make a correction. I said there's only one active zoo in the world. It turned out that it is wrong. There is another one in China, or in Shangzhou, I guess it was, if I remember correctly from the comments. So sorry for that. I was misinformed on this situation. We actually didn't find that one. So we have two zoos in the world, which, well, actually dramatically improves the situation, because we have two, well, habitats to draw inspiration from. I'm just kidding. It doesn't really change too much of the approach of the habitat, but it's good to know. And as you guys also told me, there are quite a lot of private people holding some of the proboscis monkeys, not in a zoo, but more like in smaller, you know, areas and whatever. But I have to address now one of the biggest challenges of this habitat. Now, as we do it Rudilistic, as we call it. Rudilistic means that we try to be as realistic as possible, but some things I'm just like not going too much into. For example, you will see that the backstage area, where we would have the cages and stuff, is only implied this time. I have closed doors, and I'm not going to make the stuff behind. I could, but it just doesn't add anything to the visual or the visible area of this habitat. Now, I made it a cool, I think at least I find it a cool solution for that, which also draws the zoo together quite nicely, and it does tell a story, so you will see that in the real-time part. And also, if the time-lapse is too quick for you, but you still kept it going until here, you can also just jump to the real-time part, which is about 17 minutes in, if you feel better seeing not that quick moving images. But yeah, so apparently, one thing that I was trying to get across is also the idea of putting a lot of enrichment items in positions that make sense. I wanted to also ensure that it doesn't look, well, out of place. Like, one thing I still not really like about the, like, it's hard to say. I do like the enrichment items in the game. There are quite some. I like that we have a very broad choice, but then again, some of them look very stylized in a way, and they don't really fit every habitat. They are like, most of the enrichment items in real zoos look kind of shabby and just like very improvised, because they're exactly that. Like, they are just tied together, duct tape thingies, or like the fire hose ball, for example, in different colors. It's just like a very old thing as well, and like, it's because it's used, you know, and these we have in game look super new and shiny. I would love them to be able to kind of, I don't know, weather over time, or like get used over time is maybe a little bit too much asked, but actually they could look used from the get-go, because that would still be more realistic than having these shiny new things. And this is why most of the items I would love to have in positions that they are not as obvious. A couple of these enrichment items, for example the card box and stuff, they work properly because they, after have been used, they look quite done. So that's when they are placed back onto its original position, which I find a very good solution. I would wish for more of these, and this is why certainly I tried with this habitat to get rid of most of the enrichment items in a visible spot and put them in spots that are not as visible. You will see me also using enrichment items that do not work with the Proboscis Monkey, but they still would work in real life with a monkey type like this. I mean, this is no criticism to Frontier or the game itself. You have to kind of make a category, otherwise the balancing of the game wouldn't work. So theoretically, 90% of all enrichment items could somehow work for another animal too, just simply because, well, they would figure out what to do with them anyway. So it's enrichment by default. They are maybe just more suitable for the one or the other, but in general, they would work for all of them. However, you can see me also tackling this overhanging portion over here. I must admit that this is potentially the weakest point of the build, even though I like it quite a lot, but I have not estimated that the rest of the habitat is looking so good, because in fact it was the other way around. I wanted to have this thing to be the absolute eye catcher of the build, and I'm very happy that it isn't anymore, and it just kind of seamlessly integrates now into this area, because it just didn't work out exactly the way I wanted it. I could solve that problem, but this would give the whole build a different character. I think we just, along the way, we just turned it into something that I quite like, and this is why I had to adjust the design a little bit to what we were developing. So I think this is also a very good example sometimes of a process. You have something in mind, like an idea or a concept, and you could either go in and just fully draw out the concept and then eliminate some weaknesses of the concept already during the concept phase. That is totally doable, and I've done that multiple times already. Or you could just have like a very broad concept in your head and just go and iterate. And this is what I've done over here. This is basically a real-time iteration. If you've seen the live stream, you will know. And yesterday I had a quick chat with Mr. Omi. That's the one who's also doing the enrichment science. Blame him, it's not ready for this episode. I'm just kidding, but yeah, he's been also giving me some hints about the indoor section, which I will change quite a bit at the end of the video. So the video became a little bit longer because I made some changes to the interior. I made some changes to the overall habitat, which I will explain in the real-time part why I did this. There are some smaller elements that we have to potentially change as well, simply because I have the feeling it's not 100% accurate the way it is, but we will do this in a later stage of the realistic habitats or the Rudilistic zoo, because, well, as we have figured out now to name the zoo properly, I think it's a very good point to really give this thing a proper naming. It is the Rudilistic zoo, and this will be an ongoing project. Still, I would love to tie this all together in a better way, but there is simply no other way of doing this other than in a live stream, which will end up being a live stream that I will potentially not even turn into a time lapse. The reason for that is, and I'm just tackling that. If you guys stick with me till this point in time, big thanks to you. And if you're not subscribed, what are you even doing? How have you been making it to this point and not being subscribed? Please check down below on the right hand side of your screen if you're subscribed, because if not, what are you even doing? But thanks a lot for being here. So the thing is, Planet Zoo is in a very weird situation at the moment. We are moving towards the next DLC window in a way. I think it's still a couple of weeks until we know exactly. My assumption is that early July will be the next DLC drop, so I guess 2 weeks at least will go inland until we have some more news, but who knows. The problem is the game itself is very much at an all-time low in terms of player count, in terms of interest, in terms of everything, and that is something that you do obviously also recognize on YouTube. So I don't want to put out videos just for the sake of putting them out, so you may have recognized that the amount of videos has been reduced, which is not only due to time reasons at the moment. It's not like that I have awfully loads of time. Actually, it's the opposite, but even though I'm still quite good in planning my videos, so that would work, but I just figured it doesn't it doesn't make any sense because people just seem not to be too much ready for more content at the moment, simply because the interest isn't there. And this is the reason why I'm selecting my builds a lot more wisely at the moment. And I have just noticed yesterday that the Proboscis Monkey is definitely not an interesting animal for YouTube. This video just tanked. It just did not work at all, which may have been because of the thumbnail. Who knows, but it could have very well also been because of the intro. I don't know, it's so many reasons, but it is a trend on YouTube, and you can see that the views, especially for Planet Zoo, are going dramatically down, simply because the interest and the overall amount of people searching for that is going down. It's just natural. A, because of, well, we are over 3 years into the game's existence. B, because the next DLC is already on the horizon, so those people who always come back for a DLC are finally dropped out of the last one, so they are gone. You know, there's always like a bunch of people out there, and maybe you watching the video today, you are included in that group, which is totally fine, who are always waiting for something new in the DLC, and then it's just a normal DLC. They test the new animals, or maybe they don't test it at all, and then after a couple of days, which I can totally understand, it's becoming boring, because not everyone is a crazy builder like I am, or is just spending 30 hours on a Proboscis Monkey habitat, for example. Other people are just like, it's not 30, that was a little bit over the top, but 15 hours, you know. They just want to play and build something nice for animals. And I feel like this is obviously at the moment a situation where the DLCs didn't give those people too much to play with. And at the end of the day, this is why the interest is declining quite dramatically after the first 2 weeks after the release of the wonderful DLCs. And that also brings me to the point why I feel like it's very clever to spend more time on a build like that. But now the original point, what I wanted to get to, is that this also requires something interesting for you to look at. And now just tying together these areas in here without actually bringing in a new animal or like a new fancy build is not what people want to see at all. There is a small core of people which love these architectural things, and they are like all in for that, which I 100% love, and I would love to just be able to do videos only for those people. In fact, I'm doing this. There will be something for members only in the future. I have something in mind that exactly these things I was just talking about, exactly these very specific builds will be made member content in the future. See, this is, I made a very long introduction to this, simply because I wanted to explain you the reasoning behind why I planned this. My philosophy still is that I don't want to do anything major for members only. I know I could do a lot of things to, you know, drag you guys into membership and just make some money out of it, which is totally not my target. I feel like if you want to contribute to the channel and you want to help me, that is totally fine. You get some emotes, you get some sneak peeks. That's fair. We can do this. But I feel like it's kind of weird to, you know, it's just a game and it's just some builds, and I don't want to have this behind like a paywall, if you want. So whatever I do will always end up in the public area, maybe a couple days later, who knows. But I just did not find the proper content for that. And so I think this might actually be the proper content. Live streams turned into a specific time-lapse for backstage areas and for like architectural stuff, and like these very intricate builds that require quite a lot of explanation and stuff. Anyhow, I think I've talked way more than enough for that about that, but now it's time to talk about the changes of the interior here. So naturally I was just like putting a lot of plants in here because these animals would live in a relatively jungly area. But then your comments and also Mr. Omi's comments in Discord just reminded me of the fact that the interior is a lot harder to maintain, or let me just say does require a maintenance at all, because outside you can just leave the grass growing and stuff. You don't really care, it can be outside, and the animals do care for it more or less on their own by just walking above it and just whatever. However, indoors, this is a different story because you must have some ability to clean it. Otherwise, the smell and also bacteria and stuff is an issue. So to keep it clean is not only a visual and a odor thing, it's definitely also a hygiene and health factor, which made me change this quite a lot and make this a lot more accessible by putting a lot more concrete down and a lot more areas where the cleaning would be a lot easier. I made the planters into actual planters so that they would grow out of something that is somewhat separated from the concrete below. And obviously we did a proper ceiling. We have an air venting system also in a minute. So I just changed a couple of things according to the feedback, which I hope makes the whole thing even more Rudilistic at that point. Putting in a couple of guiders over here to make it more stable and more believable. And then these nettings and stuff, they are also made simply. By the way, I just figured that this outlet is super weird and super wrong. I don't know why I turned it upside down, like the rain would pour into it. We would have like that would be like a waterfall. I will actually change this with you in the real-time part real quick. I just figured, like, why the hell did I not change this? This makes no sense whatsoever, because as soon as it's heavy raining, we would have a wonderful waterfall coming from the ceiling. Interesting. But yeah, so this is what you can see. This is like the major change. This is the enrichment item I talked about, or these two, or even three that they can't really use, but I feel like this just adds up to the realism aspect. And I'm quite in love with the internal design, interior design now. Yeah, putting like a forage box in here, which also fits nicely into the corners, and made sure that we have some enrichment items across the whole habitat, making sure that they can use a couple of things. And yeah, the rest is just a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of putting stuff here and there. As I said, there is some stuff I would need to do for the outside just in order to connect more of the areas together, because yeah, it's just like a little bit bare and a little bit unfinished. But this is just down to me focusing on the habitats in this specific zoo over here. It's not like a whole concept as Sicily is. But I think it's fair, you know, we need these differences, because the habitats obviously are even better than the Sicily ones, simply because they have even more time that goes into it and even more thought. But yeah, this is that. I really do like how this all turns out. I really think my idea in my brain is somewhat realized, but it's even better than it was in my brain. Yeah, putting like a sliding door in here as well, making sure that everything is somewhat realistically believable. Also here we get another gate that could be closed off, and you know, putting down a couple more stones here and there. But that's that. I think it's time to move over into the game and see what we can have a look at while we go and have a little stroll around. We go into the real-time part, and we are starting our little walkthrough on the opposite side of the entrance to the habitat. So this is the main view where you really have to go, because this is like a dead end at the moment. And we turn around, you can see there is someone sitting already on on these wonderful ropes. And we have them climbing everywhere. The only thing I don't get is like they are getting boxed all the time, and I'm really not sure why. I hope it kind of settles in once everything is just kind of not touched anymore. So we have one playing down here with a little card box thing. This is what I meant earlier into this video. Like this is like super done and looks used after usage, and then whoop, there you go. It's nice and tidy again at the beginning. I'm very impressed of how they can actually use this climbing frame. It looks really decent. Like, don't get me wrong, there is a tiny bit of glitching going on, but like all over, I have to say I'm relatively happy because of how they behave as well. It looks really good. The only thing I quite not like is that they don't use this hammock over here at all. I would love them to use it. If you guys have a trick how to get them there, I don't know. I tried my best already by putting a bedding in, but it just kind of doesn't work. I can put them there, like I can actually make sure they move there and it all works. It's also like, it is working. Oh my god, this looked... Okay, until this glitch, it looked very good. But yeah, so this is that, and you can also stroll even further. You have a tiny little look in the backstage, which is fine, but I blocked most of it now by some bamboo, made sure that it all looks good. We have a added security over here with this mesh, in order to make sure that they don't jump from this palm tree over here to the other side. This tree over here would cause some emotional damage maybe as well after we've had that. And yeah, a couple of things. Maybe I would need to drag this thing out. This is what I meant. Some of these are not 100% secure. If they're sitting up here, they could realistically just jump over here. So maybe we gotta put this one in between as well, or put like an electrifying thing on top of this reddish fence as well. You can see the electric fence is down here, so they don't don't go to the concrete wall, but maybe we're going to put something on top here as well. Or we put just what also would be possible, because we do have 2 fences. This could be electrified as well, so just have like a kind of a warning sign on top of it. That could work. I love how this looks with the roots here in the back, by the way. I just love how it in general looks if you peek through it. You've got so many cool views, and the way it is designed, also with this little corner in the back, it looks that the habitat, as if the habitat is a lot bigger than it actually is, and that was also part of the idea, just having these kind of little areas here and there, where it looks almost like if the habitat goes further into the distance, which I think is a good part. But yeah, let's move over here around the otter habitat. Having a little stroll over here, we can have a little peek if there's an otter. Is there someone in here? No, not really. And then turn around to the right hand side. Not sure what I'm going to do with the curbing here. There needs to be something around that one. Still in love with this one. Look at the... it just looks so good. It looks like really these kind of early 2000 habitats, maybe late 90s, I don't know, with a lot of concrete, and then these kind of... usually it's been metal frames at the beginning, but obviously they have been corrugated and weathered quite a bit. But now you go to the raised platform, and what I like especially about this one is that you don't really see too much of the habitat, and also the building doesn't seem to be that big. But as soon as you approach the highest point, you start to see the climbing frame almost like super up close, you know. It is relatively close, but I can't jump over, so you can see this very up close because I've zoomed in quite a bit now. But I think this is a fantastic viewing spot once you're over here. Obviously we would require a nicer backdrop over here, some trees or like a different building, but don't let yourself be distracted from that. I think it looks super nice the way it is over here, and you can see the animals just still running across the climbing frame. It just looks so good. This looks so good. But what you want to see actually is the interior, don't you? Also, I put some additional security in here. You've seen that, so that they don't use the bamboo to jump over. I might need to put some more glass in between here, but we do have like a little bit of electrifying stuff here so that they don't climb on this side. And once you go over, this is the viewing spot for the guest. Now, it's a little bit tricky because the sun is causing some issues with the visibility, and this is why we need to change the time of day. So I'm just going to move this all the way to the evening, so you can see there is the light is changing, and now you've got a better look to the interior. I must admit though, there is a little graphic glitch over here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm not sure what exactly is causing that. It's like only in the windows, so if I go over here you can see it's appearing again in this window. It's a bit weird, so but this is how it looks from the inside, and I feel like this looks really cool now. As I said, this is the little trick I used. So basically this is the ground level, and once you go in you have a lot of areas to be maintained. We've got a bit of sand, as if the sand was kind of put on here to make in like a little hill, and then we've got another area here where they're closer to the people, and then we've got this tiny little water basin in the middle, and then you can go across here and then just go into the backstage area. And the idea is that this is obviously the door to the backstage area, and we've got some smaller ones in which they can go in and out, just to make sure that they go to the backstage. But as I said, there is nothing in here. This is just all implied. But the good idea about it being implied is also, let me just go out, this is then the whole building, you know, as if they were like in the basement, and this is directly connected to the Red Panda backstage area, which I feel like is a great thing, because this just creates like a much more immersive feeling of how backstage areas can work together. So it also gives the entire area a lot more reason to be here, to have the staff room, another kitchen and stuff. So it's not only here for the 2 red pandas, which would be a little bit overdone, but now it really makes sense because it is part of another habitat too. And so both of them, oh look at that, I went to the roof. Actually, well, this is proper good, because we can now fix this little issue over here as promised. Now this makes no sense at all. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to copy that real quick, and we're just going to do the outlet to the outside like so, and then yeah, we just have like an additional, this looks stupid. I might actually do it that way. It might look a little bit weird, but I think it's better than the other way around, because otherwise that would have looked a little bit weird from... I gotta have to find a different solution for that. This looks still pretty weird. I mean, it's good that it does come out here, but otherwise I could just stretch... You know what? No, we're just doing it completely different now. We're just going to stretch that thing out all the way here. I think this is fine. And then let me just say air in here and put this thingy in front of it. There you go. I think this makes a lot more sense. Whoop, there's one floating in midair. There you go. So that is the solution I guess I was opting for. Okay, well, let's go out of this mode and actually go into the free look mode, and gonna put it back to a normal time of day. There you go. And now look at this. This is the finished area, and boy, am I happy with it. It's looking really, really well, and it also ties in so super nicely in this area. In fact, if I'm looking at that, it makes actual sense to have like a nice plaza in here. This would require to be like a very nice plaza for the zoo. This would make a lot of sense because the rest of the zoo is pretty tight and meandering and stuff, but this requires like a nice open plaza. Would also make sense with this habitat and this viewing platform over here. Yeah, but that is something of the future. Awesome. I don't want to make this episode for too long now because it is already pretty long. Let's have a final look at this wonderful area. Oh gosh, I love it so much. If you guys liked it so much as well, please let me know by putting a comment down below what you love about the habitat. Is it one of my best? Is it not? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, thanks again to Instant Gaming for the sponsor of today's video and also sponsor of the channel, which is great. And if you want to help me out, you know, you can also, if you need a game, just go to the description, use that link to order yourself a game, get a DLC you don't have yet of Planet Zoo, or just get a completely different game, whatever. You can get whatever you want from over there. So just as a little reminder, and that's that. Just another hint, tomorrow there will be potentially the first episode of my new City Skylines project. And we might have a live stream tonight. Well, actually, we have a live stream tonight, so make sure to tune in for that one. There is a little poll running on my channel right now what we are playing, but I think Zoo Sicily has the edge at the moment. So I see you there, I guess. Until then, have a good time. Thank you so much, and goodbye.